Morning, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. Had a wonderful weekend. Uh, and let's start with highlighted notes. I'll comment on it in a bit. So last session we had discussed most of the important topics with respect to national income accounting. Uh, Gross domestic product, then net domestic product, net national product. Discuss all the concepts with respect to national income and how, if you have arrived at one, from there how to reach to another, that also we had understood. So the concepts we have understood. I told you, explained you this part also, that how to go from GDP to GNP, GNP to NDP, NDP to NNP. That we have already discussed it. Now what we are going to do, we are going to read what is given in the material with respect to starting from gross national product. And if there is any question or if there is any point where I feel there is an explanation required, and explain it. Otherwise, we'll just go through everything what is written now and take this forward. So gross national product, again here gross word denotes that it includes depreciation. Always remember that. And the moment we say national, it includes domestic plus net foreign exchange income earned. So net foreign earnings are also added here because we are talking about national product. So if you have to calculate GNP from gross domestic product, you just need to add net factor income earned from abroad, and you will get your gross national product. So what is GNP? It's a total measure of flow of goods and services at market value resulting from current production during the year, including, so if this last part, including net income from abroad, is what converts GDP into GNP. GNP includes four types of final goods and services. Again, first three are there in GDP also. It's the third one which is the difference between GDP and GNP. Consumer goods and services to satisfy immediate wants of the people. Gross private domestic investment in capital goods consisting of fixed capital formation, residential construction, and inventories of finished and unfinished goods. Goods and services produced by the government. Now, these three are always a part of GDP also. What is not a part of domestic but a part of national is the net factor income, known as net income from abroad. Clear? Now, exclusions, inclusions are more or less the same things. The only addition is the depreciation from between gross and national. So GNP is a measure of money in which all kinds of goods and services produced in a country during 1 year are measured in terms of money at current prices and then added together. So that's very simple. We have already discussed that. Okay. Second, in estimating GNP of the economy, market price of only the final goods has to be added. We have already discussed why intermediate goods are not becoming a part of the GDP or GNP, because we don't want to have double effect of any product in the calculation. So once a product has been finalized, it's not going to go into further transformation. We will consider that products only for the calculation of GDP or GNP. So gross national product will consider only market price of the final products and services. They are not going to consider any products which are involved in the stage intermediate. No voice. I don't think so. Please check once at your end. I think it's coming clearly. Yeah. Those were counted at every stage, they would be included many a time in the national product. Hence, GNP would increase too much. To avoid double counting, only final products and not intermediary goods shall be taken into account. So that's we have already discussed and understood. Third, this also we touched upon that page number 29. Third, goods rendered and services rendered free of charge are not becoming a part of any calculation of any aggregate, be it GDP, GNP, because it is not possible to calculate or arrive at the value of goods, the value of services which are provided free of cost. For example, they have given the bringing up of a child by a mother, imparting instructions to his son by a teacher, recitals to his friend by a musician. So all these are free services, and there are many which doesn't get a part get included in the calculation. So that because it's not possible to calculate the market value of these goods or services. Fourth, the transactions which do not arise from the production or which do not contribute in any production are not included. So again, which is not contributing to any kind of production or value addition will not be considered into a gross national product. That's why we have said the second-hand capital goods, second goods are not included because second-hand goods have already been considered once. And if those goods are changing hands again and again, I bought the production. So suppose I bought one bottle and I sold this bottle to someone else. Then that person sold it to someone else. Now, these transactions which are happening are not helping in any kind of contribution. It's not any production which has increased. It's just the same product is changing hands. So that's not considered once it is sold by the manufacturer. That time it is already. So again, adding it further will be double counting. Similarly, those goods which exchange hands and does not contribute to the uh, production as such are not considered in the calculation. Some question. Okay. Next. The transactions which do not arise from the produce of current year or which do not contribute in any way. Okay, this we have already considered. Fifth, payments received under Social Security. Example, unemployment insurance allowance, old age pension, interest on public loans are also not included because against this also there is no separate Shipra saying voice not clear. Shipra, just check the bandwidth at your end. I think it's from my end, it's going good. So, Social Security Any pensions, these are not included. Social security is again the benefits offered to the society at large. So pension is an example, provident fund is an example of social security. So wherever the benefits are offered free of cost and against that there is no service as such being provided, those are not included in the calculation of gross national product because they have given the reason the recipients do not provide any service in lieu of them, but the depreciation of machine, plants, and other capital goods is not deducted from GNP. So depreciation is considered. We have already seen that gross includes depreciation, so that we are not going to exclude it. But any other product or services, any other payment against which no production or services has been contributed will be excluded from the calculations. Profits earned or losses incurred on account of changes in capital assets. Fluctuation in market price is not included. So again, the focus is if you'll see any increase in the prices due to inflation or change in market price is not going to be added in the product calculation because they have not contributed any additional production. There is no contribution of additional production. It's just the result of inflation in prices. Now, why we are not including them? Because we want to calculate what is actual value of production which has happened. So a transaction can result into increase in financial gains to a particular party involved. But when it comes to calculation of the GDP, GNP or national income, simply the asset which has been bought once, if that is sold again at a higher price, that's not going to be added because it's no value addition which has happened. So once I bought a flat from a builder, I have paid a price. Now that has already been considered. If I sell it again at a higher price because the demand has increased in a particular area, I'm able to fetch, let's say, 10 lakh rupees more, but that's not adding anything to the production. So that will also be excluded. The price of a house or piece of a land increases due to inflation. Profit earned by selling it will not be a part of GNP. But if during the current year a portion of house is constructed anew, the increase in the value of house will be included in GNP. So any further construction will get added because it's adding to the contribution, it's adding to the production. But if simply it's the not visible, it's visible. Rashi, check the network at your end, please. I'm checking it from two systems and it's coming properly. Depreciation. Okay, we'll touch upon that. First, the income earned through illegal activities are also not included for obvious reasons. They are not considered as a part of gross national product. Illegal activities, any income arising from that will be out of the purview of calculation of any aggregate. Clear? Fifth point about depreciation. Recording is on at the institute's end. I think they will be able to help you with the recorded session. Okay, now let me explain all points once again in Hindi because I have received some requests from few people. Please explain it in Hindi also. So I'll be very quick and explain each point in Hindi. सो ग्रॉस नेशनल प्रोडक्ट जब भी हम कैलकुलेट करते हैं तो हम उसमें सिर्फ फाइनल गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज कंसीडर करेंगे। दोज गुड्स जो हम ऑलरेडी कंसीडर कर चुके हैं प्रोडक्शन में, इंटरमीडिएट गुड्स, उनको हम कंसीडर नहीं करेंगे। और जब हम ग्रॉस नेशनल प्रोडक्ट कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं तो डोमेस्टिक और नेशनल के बीच का डिफरेंस आप हमेशा ध्यान रखिए। डोमेस्टिक मीन्स जो उपज इस देश में हुई है, जो सर्विसेज इस देश में प्रोवाइड की गई है, उसकी वैल्यू ऐड होगी। नेशनल मीन्स जो कंट्री को बिलोंग करता है। रॉ मटेरियल नहीं यूज होगा, इंटरमीडिएट गुड्स कैलकुलेशन में नहीं ऐड होंगे, सिर्फ फाइनल गुड्स ऐड होंगे। नेशनल मीन्स जो इंडिया के लोग हैं जिन्होंने बाहर इनकम अर्न की है, वो भी इस देश को बिलोंग करती है, इसीलिए हम नेशनल में वो ऐड करेंगे, नेट फैक्टर इनकम फ्रॉम अब्रॉड। वैसे ही अगर कोई फॉरेनर ने इंडिया में आके कुछ कमाया है तो उसको माइनस करना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज वो अपने देश को बिलोंग नहीं करता। तो ये डोमेस्टिक और नेशनल का फर्क हमेशा ध्यान रखिएगा। अभी क्या क्या चीज़ें एक्सक्लूड होगी और इंक्लूड होंगी, तो सिर्फ फाइनल गुड्स की वैल्यू ऐड होगी, इंटरमीडिएट गुड्स की वैल्यू ऐड नहीं होगी, डबल काउंटिंग होगा अदरवाइज। इसका एग्जांपल लास्ट सेशन में मैंने दिया था एक। थर्ड, फ्री सर्विसेज जो रहती हैं, फ्री गुड्स जो प्रोवाइड हुए हैं, वो भी कंसिडर नहीं होंगे, बिकॉज मार्केट वैल्यू डिटरमाइन करना बहुत मुश्किल है, इसीलिए उसको एक्सक्लूड किया जाता है। फोर्थ, ऐसे गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज जिन्होंने सिर्फ एक्सचेंज किया है, एक जगह से दूसरे तरफ गए हैं, एक आदमी ने दूसरे को सेल किया है, उसको भी कंसीडर नहीं करेंगे। वॉइस क्रैकिंग, वॉइस ओके विथ ऑल, इट्स क्लियर? ओके, सो दोज हु आर एक्सपीरियंसिंग द प्रॉब्लम विद द वॉइस, द नेटवर्क, आप अपने यहाँ इंटरनेट चेक कर लीजिए प्लीज एक बार। फिफ्थ, जो सोशल सिक्योरिटी की पेमेंट्स होती है, जो गवर्नमेंट या कोई कंपनी कंट्रीब्यूट करती है, उसको एक्सक्लूड किया जाता है, बिकॉज उसके अगेंस्ट, पेंशन के अगेंस्ट कोई सर्विसेज नहीं प्रोवाइड होती। तो इवन दो वो इनकम में ऐड होता है लोगों के, इनकम में ऐड होगा लोगों के, लेकिन क्रॉस नेशनल प्रोडक्ट में कैलकुलेशन में नहीं ऐड होगा। इनकम में क्यों ऐड होगा? क्योंकि लोगों के हाथ में वो इनकम जाती है। ओके, आई विल एक्सप्लेन इट दिशा। सिक्स्थ, profits earned or losses is incurred on account of changes in capital asset. Again, same. Every production in the country which contributes to a final production, final value, will be considered in the calculation of gross domestic product, gross national product. Clear? Any company contributing to the production of the country, if they have a factory in India, they are making productions in India, those productions will be considered in the calculation. Clear? Now we are not focusing on the taxation here. What about their taxation if someone is earning any income in India? That's a income tax domain subject. As of now, what we have to focus on, if there is an export, then that has to be added in the national. If there is any import, that has to be deducted because that does not belong to the nation. Clear? Clear. So this is the table which we had seen last session. Are you able to see? Yes. So farmer produces the goods, 15,000 is the value. It goes to for processing. He sells it at 18. So his value addition is only 3,000. So we again don't consider the 15,000. Otherwise, it will lead to double counting. Retailer, when it goes to retailer, his cost is 18. For him, those are intermediate goods. He packs it and he sells it at 22. So his value addition is 4. So we only consider the value of final goods. We don't consider the value of intermediate goods. Clear? If we consider that again at each end, it will amount to double counting. Domestic and national difference I have already explained. Domestic means which is produced in India. National means which belongs to India. That difference you will have to always keep in mind. So domestic will not include export incomes. Yes. So domestic is the country, national is which belongs to the country. So again, for gross national product, there are three approaches. We have already discussed all the three methods which are there, and three methods are there for each of the aggregate. So जैसे gross domestic product we can calculate in all three methods. Similarly, gross national products also can be calculated in all three methods. So we are not going to discuss the methods here. We just go through what is written. The only difference between so highlighted PDF I'm not able to share because it's a password protected file, and this I'm using it in a application which is there on the App Store Notability. So I'm not able to export it. Uh, so what we can do while we are discussing, you have the materials with you. Simultaneously, you can also note it down whatever I'm writing or highlighting. So that will be, I think, the best way to go forward. I tried a lot to share the highlighted notes, highlighted PDF version, but that's not happening. Again, any company work. So Barkha understand if income is earned and it belongs to the nation, it will be you can download it from the I think some people have joined fresh today. They were not there in the earlier session. I have already shared the link from where you can download the materials. It's there on the institute website. So please go and check, download the soft copy. If you can afford it, if you have the facilities, get it printed also and then sit with the printed version. That's absolutely okay. Link drive I have already shared. I have already also posted the second version of MCQs there last evening. So you can so PDF I will put the PDF of this also on the Google Drive. Okay, so now I think we'll have to rush. We cannot spend more time on the same subject. We have already discussed this a lot of times. Okay. Gross national product at now factor cost and market price. This difference also you will have to New MCQs have already been put in, answers also have been uploaded. So why again same requests are coming? I am unable to understand. I told you that time also, please save the drive link. Those who have written to me, I have responded to all also. So let's not waste the time of the class for such things. Okay. So here is the drive link for all. Okay. Now, difference between factor cost and market price. Anyone? Can someone tell me what is the difference between factor cost and market price? NIT, what is NIT? Net indirect taxes. Yes. So factor cost does not include the taxes because taxes is government revenue and factor cost is the cost of the value of production. Yes. Taxes minus subsidy. Yes. Market price always remember. So three differences you have to keep in mind always. तीन difference हमेशा ध्यान में रखिए. एक एक ग्रॉस एंड नेट का डिफरेंस. ग्रॉस includes depreciation, net does not includes depreciation. Second, domestic and national. Domestic is within the country. It does not include net factor income from abroad. National includes net factor income from abroad. थर्ड डिफरेंस हमेशा ध्यान रखेंगे. जो थर्ड डिफरेंस इज market price and factor cost. So factor cost will not include indirect taxes, whereas market price will include the government revenue also, which means indirect taxes will be added. So these three difference always keep in mind and you will be able to calculate every other aggregate if you have one aggregate with you. Yes. Subsidy is deducted because subsidy is again a cost to the government. So we are only adding the net income of the government in the calculation. So domestic does not includes exports income, net factor income abroad. Exports minus imports is net factor income. Market price includes government revenue. So in the factor cost is cost of all the factors of production, which includes land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurs. So rent, wages, interest, and profits are added, but government revenue is missing. So we add that also, and we calculate market prices. In gross, domestic is a part of gross calculation. In net, interest or depreciation is not a part. So net excludes depreciation. So when we say GNP at factor cost, it does not include indirect taxes. So you just see the formula in the end. It includes, the formula is given, GNP at factor cost is equals to GNP at market prices minus indirect taxes plus subsidies. Clear? Now from GNP, if you have to go to net national product, only difference is going to be gross and national, which means depreciation will be excluded. Yes. So see the formula, NNP at market price is equals to GNP at market price less depreciation. So if you have understood these three differences, gross and net, market price and factor cost at domestic and national, you will be able to clearly calculate any aggregate. So keep this difference in mind. Now NNP at factor cost, again from market price, factor cost and market price difference is indirect taxes. So from market price, if you have to go to factor cost, you have to deduct indirect tax. GNP at market price is equal, again, the other way of calculating factor cost is GNP at price. So always remember from where you are going. If you have been to malls, you enter the mall, you have one board kept there, and in that the directions are given. So first, one important thing to always follow any map or any direction is, in every map you will find there is written, you are standing here. In the offices, in the commercial premises also, you go and see where, if in case of fire exit plan, they will also tell you where you are standing. So from where you are starting the calculation, that is very important. So always keep that in mind, why we are adding something, why we are deducting something. Focus on from where you are standing. Clear? It's not that always on your right hand side there will be something. From where you are standing is important. Clear? So when you are starting from GNP at market price and you have to calculate net, NNP at factor cost is also known as national income. So whenever someone says national income, it is always net national product at factor cost. When you are starting from GNP at market price and you have to go to factor cost, there are two things which have to change. One, market price, and second is gross to net. So from gross to net, if you have to go, you have to deduct depreciation. From market price, you have to go to factor cost, you have to deduct taxes. And you will have to add subsidies. Why adding subsidies? Anyone can tell me why we add back subsidies? Is uh, to find factor cost, why we add subsidies? Anyone? Because it generates income. Yes, it comes from government and it reduces the factor cost. Yes. Subsidy is provided by the government. Yes, correct. Now I have I have in the drive I have uploaded one presentation. PPT file is there on national income, which includes all the discussions we have done in the classes, which includes all the formulas. It also includes some explanation, some diagrams to explain the concept. So it's a self-explanatory presentation. So please download that and go through that after today's session so that this topic is very clear to all. Clear? Now I will have to move to the next topic. Go through the presentation. It's already there in the drive. It's already there in the drive. Yes. I've again posted the drive link. Domestic income. Again, you have calculated national income. Now you are calculating domestic income. The difference is national to domestic. National includes net income from abroad. Domestic will not include net income from abroad. So if you have to calculate domestic income, what you have to do? From national income, you will have to deduct net income earned from abroad. Right? So the difference between domestic income and national income is the net income from abroad. Yes. Now, what is private income? Private, the word private includes private individuals. It does not include public sector, which includes, it does not include the government. So private income is income obtained by private individuals from any source, whether it is productive or otherwise. Now this difference is important. From any source, which means whether any production has been made or not, any services have been provided or not, income earned by foreign MNC in India included in national income. So if a income is belonging to nation, again I'm saying if it is a part of if the value of goods and services, for example, if I provide services to a foreign company, you should not skip these concepts, Taruna. It's a important chapter. I would prefer you spend some time and understand these concepts. In 12th, you could afford it. Here, you may not. Yep. Illegal income will also come. Answer is no. That's always excluded from the calculations. Any calculation. Exam, what type of questions? It will be all MCQs. If you have given, you have been given sample questions at the end of chapter, and I have already shared a couple of files. Okay. So how do you calculate private income? You have calculated a national income, but in national income you excluded the payments, which includes pension, social security payments, which were excluded because there was no production. Here, in the beginning only, we have added, learned that any source is important, whether productive or otherwise. So we have to add those payments because earlier we had not added. Then we have to add interest on public debt. So government had paid interest on the loan which they have taken from the public. That will get added. Profits and social security profits and surplus of public sector undertakings will be deducted. So government department public sector profits which have not been distributed, which does not belong to private individuals, which belong to public sector, which belongs to government will be reduced because they were already considered in the calculations. So from national income, you add and deduct these incomes and hence arrive at private income. Clear? Now here social security means the contribution to social security schemes like provident fund and life insurance. Employees contribution. So if you have contributed to provident fund, if an employee has contributed to life insurance, These are social security. What is mentioned here, those will have to be deducted because private income we are calculating, and these are the payments which private individuals have made. You buy an insurance policy, you pay the premium you have paid, it will be deducted from your income. If you have contributed to provident fund, it will reduce your income. Transfer payments here means the pension. So if pension has been received by individuals, this will be added in the income because it's an income. Earlier we had not included because they are not against any services. GDP deflator we have discussed already, Harshika. We will see if I can discuss it again. Here now from private income we go to personal income. So personal income means total income received by individuals from all sources before payment of direct taxes in 1 year. Personal income is never equal to national income because former includes transfer payments whereas they are not included in national income. Personal income is derived from national income by deducting undistributed corporate profits, profit taxes, employees' contribution to social security scheme. These three components are excluded because they do not reach individuals. So those payments, those incomes which actually have not been distributed are not in the hand of a particular individuals. Saloni, how can I edit my PDF for soft copy? See, I don't know which device you are using. I have one app where I could upload this file, which is a Notability app on the App Store. It's a paid app, so I don't want you to incur any expense here. I'm using that app and I'm able to edit it or highlight it. Or else you can write it to institute and ask for permission to edit it. GST is also indirect taxes. Any income which does not belong to nation, which belongs to any foreign company, foreign country will be excluded. Okay. If anyone have been able to solve this problem of highlighting or editing, you can share your comments in the chat box. So personal income, which means the only difference in private income and personal income is taxes, because taxes have been paid. So what we are trying to calculate is how much actually is the income in the hand, and from there we also exclude undistributed profits because those have not been distributed. The app which I'm using is Notability. Clear? Okay. Now disposable shit. Sorry. Disposable income. Disposable, the word itself is explaining it that anything which is available for expenditure. anything which is available at my disposal for expenditure for investments. So actually how much, so अगर इसको explain करेंगे, so there is a concept of CTC, cost to company, and there is a concept of in hand salary. So CTC will not include, CTC will include all the benefits, provident fund, everything, but in hand salary is what people look at, that how much I am going to get in my hand for my expenditures. So actually that is the difference between disposable income and personal income. Personal income is how much I have earned. Disposable income is of what I have earned, how much I can spend. So the entire personal income cannot be spent. I pay taxes from my income, so taxes has to be excluded from the personal income to arrive at the disposal income. Clear? So only difference is direct taxes has to be excluded. Other way is your expenditure plus your savings is nothing but your disposable income. Here savings will not include uh, provident fund contributions because those are already deducted earlier. Okay. Real income. So we have discussed this concept, real and nominal values, when we were discussing GDP deflator. So here again, real income is calculated national income of a particular year prices. So one base year is taken and apply the price level of those base years and we arrive at a real income. So again the formula is same. NNP for the current year multiply by base year index divided by current year index. So base year index is, let's say, 100 and current year index is 128. Then you calculate net national product using base year index to understand how much of the income has increased because of inflation and how much of the increase. See what I can do with that. Thanks for the suggestion. Let me see if that works. Next is per capita income. So per capita income is the total income divided by the population of India. So national income divided into the population is what we will be able to calculate per capita income. So again, a very simple formula, national income divided by population. If you calculate real per capita income, so again, you have already calculated real NNP, applying base year index. Yes, formulas will come. I don't know, somehow I'm not able to share the screen. Arman, not the right forum. Check with institute. I think we'll be able to. Guys, give me a minute, some issue with the connection. Yeah, sorry. Formulas will come. You can expect the questions on the formulas. Okay. So I have shared few more MCQs. So go through those MCQs and you will be able to have better grip on the subject. Um, go through the entire study material line by line, and if there are any concepts you are not able to, PPT has been uploaded on the Google Drive link only. I am again sharing the link with all of you. Go through that, and if there is any statement in the PDF file which you have not understood, then please put me a message. I will reply to that. But ensure that you read every line, every statement of the PDF file. Clear? So, okay. When GST is there, why we still write direct and indirect? GST is a part of indirect tax. It's not the only tax in India. Where can we message you? You have my mobile number. You can send me a text. WhatsApp is preferable. I've already shared my number. I'm again sharing it on the screen. Yes, GDP deflator. GDP deflator you want. So, as we discussed, real national income is calculated by applying a base year index. Similarly, GDP deflator is also calculated to find out how much of the difference in GDP is because of inflation in price. For example, if very hypothetically putting it, if there is a country which only manufactures, only produces, let's say mangoes, or let's say any fruit which is available throughout the year, let's say apples. Now, apple production, not the apple products, actually the apple which we eat, if the quantity which is produced is 1 lakh pieces, now in 1 year the prices of the apple was 190 rupees. If next year there is same production, but the price have increased to 250, right? So in the next year, when the prices have increased to 250, there is no increase in the production. It's just the increase in the gross national product or gross domestic product because of inflation, because of increase in prices. So if the government wants to understand that how much of the increase in GDP is because of inflation, then they calculate this GDP deflator, that how much of that is because of inflation. Clear? National income, domestic income, what is the difference? The same difference which is there in domestic and national. Domestic within the country, national includes net factor income earned from abroad. Contact number I have shared. Now let's go to the next chapter. Okay. Indian Union budget. Gross private domestic investment. Okay. So overview of Indian budget. See, guys, I will have to rush through those. I'm seeing a lot of questions. Explain again, explain again. We have invested sufficient time on these concepts. So request you to please either put me a message on the WhatsApp and I will reply to you there. And let's move forward. Clear? Due to the paucity of time, I will have to rush through. Yes. Overview of Indian Union budget. Now, it's the same number. Number is same number. I'm available on the same number 9822202890. Okay. Indian Union budget. Now, this subject is this chapter is very easy, but this chapter has a lot of facts in it. So, from MCQs, from exam point of view, it is very important for all of you that you remember the facts which are given. Now, this first part of this chapter is all not about the history of Indian budget. It talks about when was the first budget presented, who presented the first budget, who has presented the maximum number of budgets, who has never presented a being of an error. So these is all facts and you will have to remember these facts. So MCQs are expected out of these, especially this first part. Yes, you will have to remember all the names. You will have to learn all the names and the dates primarily. So let's go through them and then I'll explain you the concepts also. First Indian budget was presented by Mr. James William on 18th Feb 1869 after Indian budget was introduced on 7th April 1860 by East India Company. So this is all prior to independence. First budget of independent India was presented by then Finance Minister Mr. R. K. Shanmugam Chetty on 26th November 1947. Yes, the questions will come only from the material. Majority 99-95% you can expect it. Some may be related to the topics, but may come from outside also. But nothing outside the syllabus, I would say. Till 1955. Viva was it's going to be through some artificial intelligence methodology. I am not sure how this is going to be done. Till 1955, budget was only printed in English language. However, from 55-56, after independence in 55-56, it's also started getting printed in Hindi and English. A few mock tests on the institute website also, so you can attempt that also. In British era, the budget used to be presented at 5 p.m. Why 5 p.m.? Maybe because after the day's work, the discussion used to happen. The practice was discontinued in the year 2001, where the budget was presented at 11 am. 2017 ritual was to present the budget on the last working day of February. From last few years, since 2017, budget is now presented on the first working day of February. So the difference is from last it shifted to first. Mr. K.C. Neogi and Mr. H.N. Bahuguna were only two finance ministers who did not present any Indian budget. The record of presenting maximum number of budgets is with Mr. Morarji Desai for presenting 10 budgets. He presented 10 budgets. They never got the opportunity to present, and one fellow, Mr. Morarji Desai, got opportunity to present it 10 times. For the first time in 92 years, Union budget of 2017 merged the Union budget with the rail budget. Earlier, those were present separately, and in 2017 they got merged together, which earlier used to be presented separately. First, railway budget used to be presented, and the following day, the finance budget used to be presented. From 17 onwards, both have been merged and are presented together. Now, there are some key terminologies which we need to understand. Article 112 of the Constitution of India provides for annual financial statement. Now, you will be surprised to know that in the entire Constitution, Article 112, yes, it is also an indirect tax. In the entire Constitution, the word budget is never been used. Instead, the uh, powers are derived from the Article 112. So the statement or the words which are used in the Constitution is not the budget, it is annual financial statement. So actually the article number 112 is the governing article under Constitution, which gives powers to the government to present the budget. So what is annual financial statements? It requires So Article 112 requires the government to present to Parliament a statement of estimated receipts and expenditures. So as you can see, what you are not able to, article number, yes, you will have to remember it. So this chapter is more about facts than the concepts. Concepts are there, we will understand those things also, but this chapter has more facts. Annual financial statement is nothing but you can understand. Please ping me on the WhatsApp. I will explain you there, please. Yeah. Those who have still questions in the earlier chapter, I suggest you to please ping me on the WhatsApp. I will reply to them for sure. Plus, but please give me a day's time to revert. I have few sessions already lined up today, so I will reply to it. Don't worry. Now, annual financial statement is nothing but the budget. But as I said, in the constitution, the words budget is not used. Instead, the words used are annual financial state. Now, what is budget? It is nothing but the estimate of how much is going to be your income and how much is going to be your expenditure. That's what the budget is. In the individual context, if I have to say, we all also prepare some kind of budgeting. When you have a expense to be made and you plan for it in advance, so you prepare a budget. How much of the expenditure will be through my earnings, how much I will be through my uh, other sources. So we also make budget. Whenever there is a major event in the family, let's say marriage, you would have seen. Okay, wait till we go further. I will explain you. Okay. Annual financial state. So in the family also we have seen जब भी घर में कोई शादी होती है, whenever there is any marriage in the family, you would have seen some elders coming together and making a budget कि कितना खर्चा होने वाला है. Now, that is nothing but a process of budgeting where you estimate the expenditures, where you estimate the receipts. At a national level, when you estimate how much is going to be your receipts and how much is going to be your expenditure, Riddhi, wait, let me come to next point. It is written in second point. We are still on the first point. Yeah. Now, annual financial statement is usually a white page 10 pager document. It is divided into three parts: consolidated fund, contingency fund, and public account. Now, these three funds we are going to explain, discuss it in few minutes. But for the time being, understand annual financial statement is nothing but the budget of the nation. The provisions are given in under Article 112. It is prepared for the financial year, that is April to March. It contains three parts: consider consolidated fund, contingency fund, and public account. Clear? Now let's now go to second article, second point, consolidated fund. Now Article 266 is the article of Constitution of India which provides for consolidated fund. So the provisions with respect to consolidated fund are given in Article 266 of Constitution. Clear? Now, what is consolidated fund? As if you can understand this in simple terms, this consolidated fund is nothing but the bank account of the government. How much funds the bank how much funds the country has for at their disposal is what is known as consolidated fund. Okay. Let's restrict the questions with respect to the topic. Any other questions, administrative related questions? I have been receiving a lot of requests. How about I have not received the link to join the class and all. So uh, I understand your perspective, students, but I am not the right person to solve these questions because Like you get the links, I also get the links from the institute only to join these sessions. So I am also dependent on the admins to give me these links. So administrative queries, I will not be able to help you guys. Anything with respect to subject, I will definitely be able to explain you. Now, those you have missed a session and not able to understand a particular concept, I think the recordings are going to be available on the website of the institute. How they are going to arrange it is a different question. You will have to reach to the institute, write to them on email maybe, and they will be able to help you with. As regards the concepts which we have discussed and you have some queries or you need more explanation, I suggest you ping me on the you ping me on the WhatsApp and I will reply to it. Clear? Now consolidated fund. So if in simple terms, if you have a bank account, you get your salary or you get your income in one bank account, and that bank account displays how much money balance you have. How much balance you have for your expenditures, for your savings, for your other investments. So consolidated fund is nothing but that account for the government. It includes all the revenues raised by the governments. So revenues means income, money borrowed, and receipts from loans given by government flowed into Consolidated Fund of India. So this is nothing but a fund where all the revenue, all the loans, all the receipts which government has accumulated are put in this account. This is to understand how much can be used for expenditure. All government expenditure is made from this fund, except for exceptional items made from the contingency fund or public account. So these three are already a part of annual statement. You can see contingency fund is a type of fund which is there for exceptional circumstances. Public account is that money which does not belong to the government. For example, the PPF you contribute, they have to repay it to you at any given point of time. So it is with the government, but they cannot use it. It is parked separately in a public account. So the consolidated fund is the only fund where government meets all the expenditures through this fund. Importantly, no money can be withdrawn from this fund without Parliament's approval. It requires an approval from the Parliament. Clear? So as the word itself says, consolidated, it includes revenue, it includes loan, everything is there in the consolidated fund. And from this fund only, all the government expenditures are met. Demand for grants. Now, demand for grants before the budget is presented or whenever the budget is presented, there are several ministries, several departments which are functioning together in the government. So there is MSME sector, then there is a ministry for consumers, then there is a ministry which is taking care of tribes. So there are several ministries, several departments in the government, and each department, each ministry will need certain funds for their operation for the year. So demand for grants is nothing but the demand received from ministries and departments, and once those are approved by the parliament, they are treated as demand for grants. So it is in the form in which estimates of expenditure from the fund included in budgets are required to be voted upon in Lok Sabha. So as I said, the demand from each ministry has to be discussed and approved by the parliament. So these demands are submitted in pursuance of Article 113 of Constitution. What are these demands? Includes provisions with respect to revenue expenditure, capital expenditure, grants to state, union territory governments, together with loans and advances. Generally, one demand for grant is presented in respect of each ministry or department. So states will submit their demand, union territory will submit their demands, ministries will submit their demand. So each ministry, each state will submit how much money they expect from the government, from the union government. And then let's say one of the ministry submitted, I need 500 crores for a particular infrastructure project in the rural area. Or the education ministry submits a demand that we need 500 crores so as to penetrate the education, importance of education in the rural sector. Now that once the demand request is presented, discussed in the parliament, and once approved, the discussions can go on, and either the request will be rejected or the funds, if they have asked for 500 crores, they may be granted 400 crores, or they will be asked to modify the scheme and focus on a particular sector only. So the discussions will go on, and once it is approved, it becomes a demand for grant. Till that, it is only a request. Next is appropriation bill. It gives powers to government to withdraw funds from the Consolidated Fund of India for meeting the expenditure during the financial year. Post the discussion on budget proposals and voting on demand for grants. So first is the demand for grants. Every ministry, every department, every government department, they will first present their demands that will be discussed, decided upon. Budget proposals. So if some expenditure is proposed for defense, for infrastructure development, that will be discussed. After that, for the government day-to-day operation, day-to-day working for other expenditures, the government will present then the appropriation bill. Yes, it's a part of budget only. Because so there is a fund, consolidated fund, and using that fund only the expenditure has to be planned. Now, how the budget is prepared is a different question altogether, but these are the parts of the budget. So for preparation of budget, the starting point is GDP. So first the GDP is calculated. We take the base of last year as a GDP. We estimate what is going to be the GDP for the coming year. These are for CSCET. State governments to central government, ministries to the central government. They will demand to the central government. The government introduces the appropriation bill in the Lok Sabha. It is intended to give authority to the government to withdraw from consolidated funds the amount so voted for meeting the expenditure during the financial year. So if you have to relate this concept to at an individual level, at a micro level, let's take an example. In a family, there are two people who are earning. One is earning 50,000, another is earning 25,000. So 75,000 is a consolidated fund of the family. Now from that consolidated fund, if there is a expenditure which is compulsorily or proposed, for example, ये सब लर्न करना पड़ेगा. अगर आप उसको रिलेट करेंगे किसी एग्जाम्पल से तो ज़्यादा आसान होगा. जैसे कि फैमिली से रिलेट कर दिया. फॉर एग्जाम्पल 75,000 मैंने बोला इज अ कंसोलिडेटेड फंड. Out of this 75,000, if it has been decided that we are going to purchase a television this month, television cost is 14,000 rupees. So first, out of 75,000, 14,000 is deducted. Then out of that, we are remained with 61,000. From 61,000, there are school fees, admission fees. So each family member will submit their grant demand. For example, the children submit their demand that we need some stationery, we need some fees for the fees to be paid to the tuition teacher. So out of that, each demand will be considered. Let's say one of the child demands that I need a new vehicle. Now that demand will be discussed. If it is approved, then it will be considered in the budget. If not, then it will be deducted. Which was received for vehicle was deferred. So it will come in the next month. It will not be considered. Or a separate fund of 500 rupees will be given that you can use 500 for your traveling through auto rickshaw or Uber till you buy a vehicle. Next, after that, the routine household expenditures will be edited. Now, the difference between a private budget which we make in the family is we make a budget depending on how much funds we have. Government doesn't prepare a budget like this. They first calculate the GDP and then based on GDP, they calculate how much percentage of deficit they can afford. As you all know, there is always a deficit budget which is prepared. In government, income is not more than expenditure, expenditures are more than income always. So the difference has to be met through borrowings. Same happens with individuals also. If in 1 year, 1 month, you don't have your income, then you resort to borrowings. You take a loan. Same is the case with the government. Government takes loan every year. Yes, expenditures are more than the income in case of government. Next is finance bill is a money bill as defined in Article 110 of the Constitution. It is nothing but a proposal of what changes are required in the laws of India, primarily Income Tax Act. So all the tax reforms, all the changes in the income tax or GST, wherever the government uh, generates their revenue, there any change is done through finance bill. The finance bill is a money bill defined in Article 110. The proposals of the government for the levy of new taxes, modification of existing tax structure, continuation of existing tax structure beyond the period approved by Parliament are submitted to Parliament through this bill. So that's what we have been. Every finance bill becomes a finance act, and that is where income tax changes are proposed. I really don't know Vaishnavi. As of now, let's focus. It's not going to get postponed, and that's what I feel it should not get postponed. Finance bill is accompanied by a memorandum containing explanations of provisions included in it. Finance bill can be introduced only. However, Rajya Sabha can recommend amendments in the bill. The bill has to be passed by the parliament within 75 days of its introduction. So what general public understand as a budget is the finance bill, but the budget is much more than the finance bill. What gets published in the newspaper or what is highlighted is the is mainly from the finance bill only. What tax changes have been done. Contingency fund, as the name itself suggests, it is for the unforeseen expenses, and the provision is given in Article 267. So 500 crore fund is there, which is at the disposal of president, and whenever this fund is used, immediately the fund has to be the money which has been withdrawn has to be deposited back to this fund from the consolidated fund. So it is just like the reserve fund which the government maintains. It is just like in your vehicle you have a reserve, that much fund you need to maintain. Now that's the contingency fund. Sections may come. Yes, it may come. Public account is a account for flows for those transactions where government is merely acting as a banker. As I said, this money does not belong to government. This is just kept with the bank, parked separately. For example, provident funds, small savings and so on. These funds are with the government, belong to the government. They have to be paid back at some time to their rightful owners. Hence, this is kept separately in a public account. This money cannot be used for meeting the expenditures. Because of this nature of fund, expenditure from it are not required to be approved by the parliament. Clear? Now let's stop here. It's time 9. We are almost through. We will have to discuss these two important concepts, capital and revenue difference. I really don't know. You just check with the website, dear. So we will complete this chapter in the next session. We'll move on to the fourth chapter then. I have already shared the PPT of the MCQs. The next class is from 7:30 onwards because I was told that immediately after you have another session. Yes, first two chapters have been done. So you have a 15 minutes break now. I think the next session is going to start from 9:15. So that's the reason this session has been shifted 15 minutes earlier. Next session will start at 7:30. Request all of you to please join. I have also posted a PPT of the first chapter itself. So law of demand presentation is also uploaded. You can download it and use it for understanding the concepts. Okay. Thank you so much. God bless you. And post all your queries to me on WhatsApp. Thank you. The drive link, I am posting it again. Please save this link with you. Okay. Thank you. God bless you, guys. Bye bye. It's a PDF file. It must open.